An 18-wheeler and an SUV crashed just after 2 o'clock this morning on I-75 here in Campbell County. Reports coming in to WLAF News are that one person died and 3 others were critically injured in the northbound mishap. Dispatchers tell WLAF that the wreck happened right before you get to the Caravel exit 134 on the south exit, and that both northbound lanes were shut down for hours. It was too foggy for Lifestar to fly. A La Follette police officer has died. Mayor Mike Stanfield tells WLAF that Officer Odell Bailey passed away in his sleep Tuesday morning at his home. Bailey served on the La Follette force since August 14th of 2004. Funeral arrangements are incomplete. However, plans are for Officer Bailey to be buried in his police uniform. A picture of the officer, along with a very touching story about one of his heroic acts, is found on our web channel 1450WLAF.com. La Follette police officer Odell Bailey was 37 years old. Coffee Funeral Home in Tazewell is in charge of the arrangements, but the arrangements are not final at this time. La Follette City Council met for its September regular meeting last night. The meeting opened with a moment of silence for the recent loss of La Follette police officer Odell Bailey and youngster Trinity Henniger. There were only lengthy discussion in what was a rather cut and dried council meeting. Of the 11 items voted on, 10 were unanimous, with all 3 council members, Joe Bollinger, Stephanie Grimm, and Hansford Hatmaker, in agreement. The one sticking point came in where roofing bids for 3 city buildings, the East and West Community Centers, as well as Fire Hall Number 3, are concerned. Back in August, Council voted to bid the 3 projects separately. However, the 3 bids were advertised and then submitted as one large project rather than 3 individual bids. The reasoning was that a bulk bid saves the city around $45,000. City Attorney Reed Troutman said that the easy way would be to move forward with the bids as they are. However, Troutman went on to say that he does not advise that, simply because that is not what Council voted to do. Council member Hansford Hatmaker said the city should go ahead anyway so it can save the money, and that made a motion to do that. The motion failed for the lack of a second. Troutman noted that the city is headed down a slippery slope if it goes ahead with the one big bid, even though the 3 bidders now know what the other bid was. Council member Stephanie Grimm pointed out that what good is it to vote on an item and then come back later and not do what Council voted to do. Troutman says the minutes simply do not conform to the bid. Grimm and Joe Bollinger voted to re-advertise the bids as 3 separate bids, while Hatmaker voted no. Among the items Council approved was spending some $36,000 to renovate the old library into a conference room, removing the fountain from Freeman Park and sprucing up the park, and contracting with TVA and Stokes Lighting to install energy-efficient lighting. Council voted to promote from part-time to full-time a couple of city workers, in that of Danny Binge and Justin Like, and it also approved to go in halves with the owners of the Lions building to help pave a portion of the right-of-way and parking lot of the West Central Avenue structure. It passed 2 resolutions, one for community service fund money, and the other providing for in lieu of tax payments from La Follette Utilities totaling nearly $1 million that are coming to the city. First reading votes were taken on the ordinance to establish code for city parks and amending the zoning ordinance in the Highway Business District by expanding the definition special exceptions, which will group all business categories. You may see the council meeting in its entirety anytime on our web channel 1450 WLAF.com. Funeral arrangements are in place for the young Demery man. An entire community kept close watch over for almost 3 weeks. 16-year-old Campbell High School student Trinity Henniger died Sunday at UT Medical Center from injuries he received in a four-wheeler accident on August 13th. Visitation for the young man who was so active in JROTC is Thursday from 5 to 8 at the ROTC building on the high school campus. The funeral service follows at 8 o'clock with interment Friday morning at 11 in the Pond Cemetery at Grantsboro. Trinity's family requests that in lieu of flowers, that donations be made to the Cadet Command Sergeant Major Trinity Henniger Memorial Scholarship Fund at Home Federal Bank in Jacksboro. And Carl Pierce's Big Bologna Sale is back. About every year or so, Carl Pierce and the Pierce Furniture Gallery gives away bologna with certain purchases. The sale is so popular, even the Tonight Show's Jay Leno poked a little fun at the sale on his show last year. Pierce says the bologna sale runs until further notice. And we want to remind you that Stennett Ballou, a well-known minister, is in revival this week up at the Forks Grove Baptist Church, and they're starting their services each night, and they'd love to have you there. You remember, Stennett was pastor at the Bethel Baptist Church in Jacksboro for about 10 years, and he's on WLAF radio every day, Monday through Friday from 11:45 to 12, and Stennett stopped by to visit with us today.
You obviously have a lot of connections in Campbell County with your ties here back from years ago, and what's it like for you to come back in here and hold a revival and see folks?
It's wonderful. My wife and I feel like we're coming home after we spent 10 years here from 1973 over to 82, and it's like coming home. We love these mountains.
Now, you're at Forks Grove. Could you tell us a little bit about how things have gone this week? And obviously, this will be on the TV tonight on Wednesday, and you've got 3 nights left counting tonight.
Yeah, the Lord's really blessed us the last 2 nights. I was amazed, I guess, maybe I shouldn't have been, but I was amazed on Monday night at the large crowd we had, it being Labor Day. And we had a great service, and then had a good crowd again last night and another good service. The Lord just blessed us. They have a good church there. A lot of our friends have come in to be with us, even some that I pastored at Bethel years ago, and other preachers have come in. It's just been a wonderful 2 nights.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about Stennett Ballou for those young folks, those folks that maybe weren't around when you were here back in the 70s. How did you get started in the ministry, and where did all this begin for you in your walk with God?
Well, the Lord called me to preach when I was 18 years old. I was saved when I was 9, called when I was 18. And, of course, I grew up in the country where preachers didn't make much preparation in those days for the ministry except just pray and self-educate. But I began my first church when I was 23, and then I pastored a total of 4 churches, Bethel being my last one. I got acquainted with the folk at Bethel through some preachers' meetings, fellowship meetings, and then they were out of pastor and called me to come up and preach. And over a process of time, they elected me, and my wife and I and 2 children at that time moved up to Hatmaker Ridge up at the Bethel Baptist Church, and we enjoyed 10 great years, wonderful years. I had the privilege of being on radio here every morning, 9:30 to 10, with the Bread from Bethel broadcast. And then I left here, and I left the radio when I left here, as far as broadcasting is concerned. But I left here 30 years ago this month. Last Sunday, I resigned from Bethel, Labor Day weekend. 30 years ago, and I stayed till the 1st of March, and then we left. And 1st of April, I stayed. Cut that one. I stayed till the 1st of October, and then I went into evangelism, mission work, and I've been involved in that now for 30 years. And then the Lord's allowed me the privilege to come back. I come to Wood Lake, preach for Brother George Asbury, and then this is the second trip to be with Brother Post and the folk out at Forks Grove. And Forks Grove was the last church I preached a meeting in before I left here.
Well, do you think your being on the radio has kind of rekindled some things in the community for you, for folks to say, hey, we'd like to have him come speak at our church maybe?
Well, I don't know. I hope it's rekindled some. I'm not getting much mail, if I can say it that way, from Campbell County. A couple of letters in the year that I've been on. I'm proud to be on. I'm on now broadcasting, I think 102 broadcasts a day. I can't keep up with it. It's too large. And I'm negotiating a new deal this week with another station. But people don't write like they used to. And God just, but God bless us. We have a good response. And I praise the Lord for a good listening audience. And it's real joy to be back on WLAF.
Anything else you want to tell us?
Well, let me invite all the people that will be able to come out and be with us. This being Wednesday night, we have tonight's service, and then Thursday night and Friday night as well. And also, let me mention this, on Friday night, the Lord willing, my daughter Donna and her husband will be with us in the services. And Donna grew up here. They'll be singing, special singing, and she would like to see a lot of her friends, and we'd like to see them as well in the service on Friday night. At the Forks Grove Baptist Church, we begin each evening at 7 o'clock, and we give everybody an invitation to come and be with us for the service.
And that's a look at our news for today. Stay tuned next for the press release from the Campbell County Sheriff's Department. And taking a look at the press release from the Campbell County Sheriff's Department, 8 people have been booked into the county jail in the past 24 hours. Roger Dale Blankenship, 43, of Victory Road, La Follette, on a capias, domestic violence by assault, and an attachment for child support. 27-year-old Dustin J. Llewellyn of Old Highway 25W in Robbins, on a hold for another agency. Alan Boyd Miller, 47, of Longmire Lane, La Follette, on a capias bench warrant. 23-year-old Andrew T. Odell of East Ash Street in La Follette for public intoxication and reckless endangerment. Joseph Wayne Ridner, 32, of White Oak Road in Duff, entered the jail to serve court-imposed time. 31-year-old Samantha Denise Scott of Adam Hollow Lane in Pioneer was held for another agency. Stephen C. Sexton, 53, of Letner Road in Helenwood, on a hold for another agency. And last today, 27-year-old Josh Aaron Woodall of Somerset, Kentucky, for theft of property under $500. And that's a look at the news and the press release for this Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Have a good evening, and join us back here again tomorrow evening.
Good Wednesday evening, Campbell County. Jason Shockley here with you for your WLAF and East Side Pizza and Deli Birthday Club. Let's get started with our birthdays for today. We have Dawn Allen, a name that sounds oddly familiar to me for some reason, and Amy Johnson celebrating birthdays. I want to wish them both a very happy birthday. For our anniversaries today, we have Willie and Pauline Johnson. Happy anniversary to you. Congratulations, and want to remind every one of you out there listening that you can call us, email us, or fax us. We'll announce your birthdays and anniversaries here on WLAF TV 12 and on Radio 1450. Stay tuned. Your news continues after this.